Well, hello there. Today I'm playing Postal. And for those of you not familiar, Postal is a very old game which came out in 1997. And you basically play as a psychopath who wants to shoot everybody. So, without any further ado, let's start a new game. Now, you're not going to be expecting too much from a game that was made in 1997, obviously. And the plot of the game is pretty sparse. The idea is generally that you shoot the cops. I mean, the idea is to just pretty much cause as much chaos as possible, but you're primarily fighting the cops. The civilians never fight back. And that was one of the things that generated a lot of controversy when the game originally came out, is that oops, I just got hit. Is that a lot of censor boards thought that the content of the game was simply unsuitable for audiences. So it was rated mature, but I believe a couple of stores even yanked the game. Of course, by today's standards, this is nothing new. And we saw, what was that game that was released earlier this year that was sort of a spiritual successor of it, and they, believe it or not, managed to capitalize on the same controversy that the original Postal created. I think it was called Hatred. Yeah, that was the name of it, and it was very much a nod to this game. I mean, it had the very top down. It wasn't 3D. Postal is obviously a 2.5 dimensional game. You know, pseudo 3D. It's not 3D actually. But the Hatred game was actual 3D, but it still had that simulated top-down look to it. You didn't play as an actual character, unlike in Postal 2. You know, Postal did have a sequel, and it was called Postal 2. I'm really getting worried here. My life. Yeah, you can execute individuals, let's say, after knocking them down. You are truly a cold-blooded killer in this game, killing for absolutely no reason except the fact that you're a psychopath. And that your mileage may vary on that, I guess. For me, it's pretty much just a fun twin-stick shooter. It's really what it's good at. I would definitely not recommend playing this game with a mouse and keyboard. It is simply atrocious. I've never played a game that handled quite as badly as this one with a mouse and keyboard. It is really that bad. I didn't get past the third level because it was just so unintuitive, really, is what it comes down to. But with a joystick, oh man, it changes everything. I must say, I was probably playing this for an hour after plugging the joystick in, or the Xbox One controller in, and I really do like it. I keep getting shot because I'm terrible at it. Well, unfortunately, one of the things that I don't like is the heavy reliance on the default machine gun with infinite ammo. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more variety in the weapons that you have to use given situations. As it is, you can pretty much just use the machine gun to blast your way through everything. And the objective, of course, is to kill as many hostiles as possible. You know, hostiles and population. In my case, for this very first chapter, I have one population left that I haven't gunned down in cold blood, and one of the police, which are known as hostiles. Later on in the game, hostiles may come to mean something else, but right now it's just the police that's fighting me. And I don't see anybody else. Now, the great thing about it is you only have to meet your quota of 90% in this case. I have hit 95, so I can advance to the next level. And a lot of the levels have different set-piece themes. A couple of them did actually require that you use certain other weapons because of the way they fenced me in when I was playing. So if I was coming around a corner, for example, one had caves, and you'd be coming around a corner, And in order to avoid just getting creamed when you rounded that corner, I instead would use grenades, which adds some nice variety to the game. As I said, you probably noticed right here, most of the time I'm just shooting with my infinite ammo machine gun. And that seems to be the pretty standardized approach to most of the gameplay. Just use your machine gun and go after everyone. And you can switch the other ones. Like right now I have a shotgun, but unfortunately to use the shotgun, the guy pauses all the time. Every time you take a shot, he has to stop moving, which means you can't strafe. And unlike when using a keyboard and mouse, you can actually strafe quite well once you have a joystick controller attached. So, yeah, it seems like the machine gun with infinite ammo was designed to be a little bit too powerful. I mean, obviously they wanted you to use it as the default weapon, but the question is, should they have incentivized a little bit more variety? Of course, anybody who questions Postal is probably courting disapproval from somebody, because it is considered a masterpiece. You know, running with scissors, I believe the studio is that did it. They're pretty much hailed. Both of their games that I'm familiar with, Postal and Postal 2, were very well received. Of course, despite the controversy that they courted releasing both of them. And, you know, somebody questioning their format or their formula, or even suggesting how it could be improved, might not always be greeted with warmth, let's say. Another interesting problem is the enemies aren't all that intelligent. There will be times when you can just shoot them in the back and they won't notice that you're shooting at them, so they'll just stand there and get shot in the back, which of course makes my job a lot easier. Like that guy right there, I'm shooting him, he's just standing there. But like I said, it makes the game a little bit easier. A lot of games from this time period were pretty brutal because, I mean, if you look at video games and how they were developing, they had just come off of arcades. Basically, in 1998 when this game came out, you know, a lot of video games had just come off of arcades like 5 years ago. And arcades, the objective usually is to beat the game. And the games are often quite hard because people are paying money for each try. So when you started moving over to home consoles and stuff, a lot of that difficulty just translated right over. So a lot of these games from this time period are pretty brutal. I've gotten about 10 missions in, I suppose, of this game, and so far only one mission, would I say, was a little bit difficult. It wasn't hard, it was just not easy, I guess is the best way to describe that. So what are you doing? There is no real progression in the game. Although I haven't ever found a way to unlock the third gun, the guns don't normally unlock as you meet any certain objectives or anything. There are achievements for this game on Steam, which I suppose can add some more replayability to it. But there isn't really a story besides mad at the world, kill everybody. There is really no character progression system, no RPG elements. You're not going to be upgrading your character's skills and abilities or anything. It is truly a twin-stick shooter type game, which is fine. I mean, it does what it does fairly well, especially given when it came out. You know, you can't really expect too much of a game that came out over 15 years ago now, can you? We have seen amazing technological progress within the video gaming community within that time frame. And this game, Postal, holds up very well and is actually quite fun. I actually love this art style from 1998. Back when they used to do this. I mean, we have Stronghold, Age of Empires. A lot of them often emulated this same art style. And it... I don't know, there's just something I like about it. It really wasn't my era of games. When I first started picking up games, it was probably games from 2004 or so. So, of course, the art style had already changed. A lot of pioneering of 3D technology in games, but I still really like the aesthetics of these older games. And it's the one step above pixel art. I know some people really like pixel art. I personally don't get along too well with it, but the one step removed from pixel art, which is this. This is the transition period between pixel art games and more 3D graphic games. It really was a renaissance era, I guess you could say, in video games for the 2D engine games. The graphics were great, hardware was getting to the point where it could power more, well, nicer graphics at least, and a lot of advancement was made in that area. So you saw really good, in my opinion, 2D graphics, and there was a certain art style to it. It was, like I said, it was a transitioning art style. So I do like the aesthetic, and some of the things are hilarious. What the lines that your victims give when you gun them down, like, has anyone seen my ear? There is a certain morbid humor to the game, of course. They're not taking themselves too seriously. You're pretty much here just to have a laugh. It isn't funny, but like I said, it's a morbid sort of funny. So that is pretty much what you're doing. Let's try some different weapons. Okay, so I can easily switch. I can easily switch between different weapons. Right now I'm going to throw a grenade. Okay, that didn't affect the civilian at all. How about a Molotov cocktail? So your selection of weapons, of course, you pick up new weapons simply by wandering around the world map. Try to throw a Molotov cocktail at that guy, and I got stuck on a bridge. Okay, I'm off the bridge. How about a rocket launcher? That'll be fun. Yeah, that worked. That worked quite well, actually. You might want to save some of your weapons and stuff, because that is one part. I mean, I mentioned that the game doesn't have a lot of progress. Well, one of the parts that do carry over are the weapons that you had from the previous level. So I guess that could really encourage replayability. If you make sure that your inventory is maxed out before entering a very difficult level that you usually can't make it through, I suppose there would be that sort of inventory management. But it isn't an RPG by any means at all. But you do carry weapons over. So, not a whole lot else to say about a game such as this. Yeah, there are different types of enemies, I guess. They use all the different weapons against you. Some of them have RPGs, some of them have machine guns, some of them shotguns, and that's pretty much what you're doing. Is you have to make sure you can counter them. I'm not doing too poorly right now. I mean, if you look at it, of course, it doesn't take a lot of skill to play a twin-stick shooter, really. And this isn't a bullet hell by any means, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to avoid. You just run around shooting stuff. I pretty much have the fire trigger held down the entire time. And I'm not sure why you would execute people, but I mean, that is an option. I haven't even gotten a Steam trophy for it yet, which surprised me. I kind of figured there would be one because there were trophies for plenty of other things in the game. I'm not even sure if this game has Steam trading cards, and after Valve made that change, allowing players to be refunded games up to an hour after they bought it and started playing it and decided they didn't like it. Ooh, yeah, now you have to play games for much longer before you ever get your free trading cards, which is a bummer because I used to trade those trading cards in during the summer sale, the winter sale, and buy the holiday themed cards. So I don't think I've collected any since the summer sale and since Steam made that change, and that's really a shame. No hostiles left. Oh, what do you know? I am 100% complete. And I think that pretty much leaves us in a good place. Regarding what I've said about the game, I am pretty much summed up. If you take a look at options, of course, I was impressed that it actually does support the Xbox One controller. As most of you probably know, Xbox controllers work exceptionally well with PC games as compared to other controllers such as PlayStation, and I'm not even sure about Wii, how those controllers work. You might not be able to use them at all. But in general, the Xbox controllers work exceptionally well with Windows games or PC games. And the really impressive thing to me is that when Running with Scissors ported this over to Steam, it came with full support for X controller setup. And that's great. I mean, you can remap every single key that you need, just like you would with a keyboard. So there's a ton of flexibility here. You can really remap it however you want it. I really left most of it alone because I'm not very hardcore into this game, of course, but it was really nice of them to do that. And I think it really will contribute to the longevity of the game, considering the fact that the play with a keyboard and mouse is simply atrocious. So yeah, that's Postal for you. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.